Hi, Jags. Welcome to our little chat here about the setup. It's basically a blind date with a book, and it was something the teachers agreed to do where they were paired up randomly with another staff member. Person one picked a book for person two, and person two picked a book for person one. And you had to read whatever book they picked you, no questions asked. So
1 month.
Right, we had 1 month to read. So it was called Blind Date because sometimes you get set up with things and you don't know how it's going to go, and that's exactly how this experiment went. So pretty excited that Mr. DeLu here picked this book by Vonnegut, and it's Armageddon in retrospect for me.
One of my personal favorites. That's why.
Why is it your personal favorite?
It's Kurt Vonnegut is usually a comedic writer, and this was his last work that he wrote before his passing, that he actually completed, and it's a collection of just his thoughts and theories about life and the world and world history and historic events, and took a more serious tone, and he can't get away from his sarcasm, so it still has comedic overtones also. But I just thought that it had a lot of interesting takes about life, and whenever someone asks me whether I'm what I teach here at Coral Glades, I always say I teach life, because that's what reading teaches you. It teaches you about your life. It teaches you about other people's life, and the more books you read, the more understanding of humanity you can become.
Okay, so to fess up, Mr. DeLu and I have known each other for a very long time, and I'm curious why, out of all the books in that library, that you picked this book for me to read.
Well, I know that you are someone like me, right, who understands that you can get a lot from books. You're a writer, you're an author, and he has a lot about his writing and what he's learned about life from being an author, and I thought that being an author yourself, that you would get something from some of that.
I definitely did. There's actually some quotes in here that you can see I sticky tabbed his book. So, and this is his personal copy, so I feel bad, but I promise it will come right on. But I love this one thing where he's talking about being a writer, and I consider anybody who borrows a book instead of buying one or lends it to be a twerp. And it's so true, because that's how we make our living. So don't lend a book, just go buy a book. But he also says this one, which as an English teacher you can probably appreciate, and as students you can probably appreciate, but my advice to writers just starting out: don't use semicolons. They are...
I remember that quote.
Huh?
I remember that quote.
Yeah, transvestite hermaphrodites representing exactly nothing. All they do is suggest that you might have gone to college, and I cannot agree with that more.
Yeah, semicolons, darn them. Yes.
Yeah. So I thought my basic thoughts about this, I wasn't sure when he first picked it. I've heard of this writer for many, many years. I've never picked up any of his books myself. He's mostly sci-fi, but comedy, so a different kind of comedy than what I usually like. So I was a little nervous, but out of all the ones you could have picked for me, I was expecting Slaughterhouse-Five, but this one actually was great because it is a collection of short stories, but it starts out with his son writing about him, and that was really cool for me because I wasn't as familiar as I probably should be with somebody of this caliber, which I think really helped me enjoy it more. The actual author, the dad, Kurt Vonnegut, doesn't think in complete sentences. He doesn't write in complete sentences sometimes, and I'm the exact opposite. I think I even dream in complete sentences. So in some points it felt like a novel in verse, but I really loved his ability to, in the end, he gets into more short stories instead of life advice. And again, I've never read him before, so I think one of the things I really admire is he is able to take like a one-liner and twist the entire story at the last minute, like not at the climax, and it just happens, and then boom, the story's over, and you're like, what? Like, what did I just read? And then I go back and I'm like, yeah, the clues were there. So he's a brilliant writer, especially for short stories, because you don't have as much time to develop character and stuff like that. But yeah, so I actually really appreciate you picking it for me, because I would never have picked this for myself.
Awesome. That's the point. Well, Carrie, Mrs. Sarah, picked out a book. I think it should be behind me, but just in case, it's called Sort of Like a Rock Star. And I gotta tell you, when I first thought that she picked this book, I was like, of course she did, because I'm sort of like a rock star. But I picked it up and started reading it and saw that...
Reluctantly, by the way. You know what I heard from him for the first week, 2 weeks?
3 weeks maybe.
I'm so busy. I'm a teacher. I don't have time to read. And you know what my answer was to him?
To stop texting back?
No.
No.
It was, what do you think your students say
Yeah,
all the time?
exactly.
Right? Like, we live in a world where we just don't have enough time, but if we're going to commit to something, we're going to do it. And then his questions were, why would you pick this female character for
Because then
me?
I had
was
to start.
Oh my gosh, stop whining, Tim.
So it was an important lesson for me, and I took this with me when I went back to my classes. And as much as we love our students to be readers, we really have to kind of think of what we struggle with when we want to pick up a book. I mean, I pick up books when I go on vacation. You know, I pick up books when I'm traveling. I don't pick up books when I'm just going about my everyday life. And I mean, the last time I was at a library, I hate to admit this as an English teacher, it was like, but this is definitely something that I took out of it, is that I need to start making time for reading in my life, because I definitely did once I started in on the book. It took a lot out from it. Yes, it's a female protagonist. I did not expect that from Michael Quick, the reader or the author. He is the author of Silver Linings Playbook, so I thought it to be a little bit more grungy, a little bit more edgy, and it really wasn't. It wasn't edgy to a point, somewhat, but it was like edgy to like a PG-13 level.
Yeah.
You know, when you think of Silver Linings Playbook, I think rated R, and from the first scene, it was a cute little dog and a teenage girl, and she was a very positive figure. And I'm reading it, and I'm understanding that this girl has a connection to faith and spirituality that I had in common. I know, Carrie, you said that you also had in common that spirituality and faith isn't always about religion. It's about spreading love, spreading joy, and
being hopeful,
and spreading hope to people who are hopeless.
Yeah, because she has like the worst life possible. She lives on a bus,
a school
bus in the schoolyard where it's locked up at night and people don't know, with her mom. And
it was Minnesota, right? Or Chicago?
Yeah, somewhere cold.
Midwest. It was very cold throughout the
freezing,
novel.
and her mom, I believe her mom tries to do her best, but she's got all these mental issues, and the character is so happy, and that's what I connected with, because here's a girl whose life just kind of sucks, and throughout 90% of the book, she is just as happy as can be, or at least trying to be, until it isn't.
Yeah, we don't want to get too much away because it is such a good book. But about 20 chapters in, it's a longer book, but short chapters. 20 chapters in, she has a life experience that I hope none of my students ever have to go through. But it really makes her question her positivity, her rock starness, so to speak. Yeah. That's also something that I wanted to touch on. My favorite part of the novel was actually very early in, and that's when the title is kind of explained a little bit throughout the story, where she is living kind of like a rock star because she pictures Jesus as a rock star because she read a book that's called Rockstar Jesus when she was a child. And so when she is being like a rock star, she's living out her faith. She's living out her spirituality. So Sort of Like a Rock Star, to me, really kind of transcended that understanding that we don't need religion to spread love. Exactly. And that's what I loved about this book, because then when she comes into questioning that about her own personality, that's something that all kids at some point have to go through, I think. Mm-hmm. Not question your faith, but question who you are. And
what is your role in this world.
Right. And what are you going to let the world make of you? And that's a really important step for all teenagers, I think, to take, because until you're pushed to that boundary, you never really know who you are. So I love this book. I love this whole experience. It was like a blind date because at first you're a little bit awkward, but then you get comfortable
And reluctant.
and then you
And
might.
sometimes you have to go the extra mile to find it on audio
Yes.
for them
Also,
instead of
she went so far out of her way to find me an audiobook, and I still had trouble
because
doing
he's
it.
busy. I get it. Teachers are busy, but it was quick little upload through Destiny, our own catalog system, to
And
his phone, and he was able to listen to it on his way to and from work.
And it really made my mornings great. It really made after school time that I could relax and just listen to it and be by myself. And I found a way to get it done. So get out there, find a book that you like. Mrs. Sarah is here at the Media Center, and she'll help you find something that you're interested in, a
There's
genre.
always a book for that.
Okay, and if you aren't the best reader, she'll also find you audio options if you want to listen to a book online. It was
Books can change your lives. I know that sounds cliche, but give them a shot. There's something there for you.
it's a great experience.